know this one's gonna get me in trouble. I'm just gonna say it. I love Jason Takes Manhattan. And as a matter of fact, it might actually be one of my favorite Friday the 13th sequels. Yeah, you heard me right. I said what I said, and I'm not ashamed of it. Okay, I can feel the judgment coming through the screen, but I need you to stick with me for a minute and hear me out. What's up, peoples? Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad, and I know what you're thinking. What in the holy hell is wrong with this guy? No, but you're probably thinking, really? Out of all the Friday the 13th sequels, you would put Part 8? Jason Takes Manhattan? As one of your favorites? Yeah, I would. And again, I'm not ashamed of it. Now look, let me start off by saying that I am fully aware that Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, is a steaming hot, wet, and grimy, complete dumpster fire of a movie. I am fully aware of that. I get it. I know. I'm with you. It definitely ain't an Academy Award winner, if you know what I'm saying. But to me, Jason Takes Manhattan is a guilty pleasure. It's one of those films that makes you nostalgic for a time period that you weren't even alive for. And as a 90s kid, I didn't get to experience the Friday the 13th franchise in sequential order like many other people did. I had to kind of take what I could get when I first started renting these and going back and watching these things. I watched films like Jason Takes Manhattan, Freddy vs. Jason, Jason X, Part 4, The Final Chapter. Those were the first entries that I could really get my hands onto and sink my teeth into. So for nostalgic reasons alone, yes, I love Jason Takes Manhattan. And I mean, look at the artwork on the cover. You can't tell me that you didn't see that cover art and say, whoa, that looks sick. I mean, that's going to be a really cool movie. And I remember seeing that DVD case for the first time and saying, man, I want that one. I want to see what that one is about because it just looked so looming and so cool. The way that Jason looms over top of the New York skyline is just so cool. Those red and blue hues on the side of the hockey mask. It's so retro and it's so neat looking. And I mean, this movie is dripping with 80s atmosphere. I mean, from the minute that we get into New York and we fade into the skyline and we hear The Darkest Side of the Night by Metropolis and we're seeing Times Square, the old Coca-Cola logo, the Batman 89 promo, everything is basted in neon lighting and it's busy and there's a lot going on. And then you finally see the title card, Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. I mean, this thing just teleports you back to that time period. I know that most of the New York stuff was actually filmed in Vancouver anyways, but what we do see of Jason and our main characters in New York is so aesthetically pleasing. I mean, it's one of the better parts of the movie. Unfortunately, we just take way too long to ever get there. Part 8 is also one of my favorite looks for Jason. I like the slightly yellowed, gritty mask. I like how wet and slimy and algae covered he is through the movie, and Kane Hodder nailed the mannerisms in this one. The breathing, the walk, the angry, pissed off vibe that he gives off when he moves and when he lurks around the alleyways of the city. It's one of my favorite performances by Kane, and Jason hits in all the right places in this movie. He's not the problem. There are some of my absolute favorite Jason kills of all time in this movie, like when he's in the boiler room of the ship and he hits the rock and roll chick with the guitar. I mean, that's an iconic shot of Jason as he swings the guitar and blood splatters all over the screen. It's pretty neat. We also get to see one of the few but special times that a slasher villain becomes the good guy for just a split second when he kills the thugs that drugged Rennie and tried to rape her and who mugged the guy. He stabs the one with the heroin needle and then he slams the other dude's face into the metal pipe. Even Jason punching Julius, the boxer, so hard that his head flies off of his shoulders and lands in the dumpster. I mean, the movie doesn't take itself seriously at all, and I think that's one of the reasons why I always had such a good time with this one, especially when you think about where this franchise was at the time, everything that had happened before this. This movie wasn't afraid to be pretty wild and to take it to a place that it had never been before. It's wild and it's nuts and it's kind of stupid, but I at least applaud it for going there and trying to do something so wild and crazy. I mean, by Part 8, we had Pamela, we had Baghead Jason, we had machete-wielding Jason, we had Roy Burns' fake Jason, we had telekinesis. I mean, honestly, as a part of this same continuity, where are you going to take the franchise that it hasn't already gone? Another group of teens camping, drinking, smoking, and having sex in the woods where he finds them and he picks them all off? I mean, no, we've already been there, we've already done that before. We've already treaded those waters. Literally. Now, with all that being said, would it have been way cooler to see Jason in Manhattan the entire time? Of course it would have. And there are a lot of reasons that didn't happen. First and foremost being that it was super expensive and logistically difficult to have to film in New York. So obviously they can only do that for certain amounts of time. But when we finally do see him standing in Times Square, stomping through the subway cars and rampaging through the diner, creeping through the alleyways, I mean, it's pretty sick, and it definitely pulls off the Jason Takes Manhattan look. Now, the biggest issues of the film involve the fact that other than one or two of them, the characters are pretty vanilla. They don't really bring a whole lot to the table in terms of character development and story arcs, as well as the fact that the majority of the movie doesn't even take place in New York. I mean, some of the stuff on the ship is cool, of course being the stuff involving Jason, but Jason Takes Manhattan suffers from the same issue as Halloween 2 from 1981. There are moments in the film that just drag on and on, like when Laurie and Michael are just playing this game of cat and mouse around the hospital. And the same thing kind of goes for Jason Takes Manhattan. It just feels like some of the wandering around the ship could have been cut out, and I feel the same way about both of these films. I mean, I guess you could say that they were trying to go for some kind of character development there, whether it's the stuff between Rennie and her uncle and the drama there, or the ship's captain and his son, or the two girls trying to get high, but largely it just doesn't land. It just feels like these characters are mainly there to die. And logistically, the story makes zero sense. I mean, this ship went from Camp Crystal Lake in New Jersey all the way to Manhattan? I mean, if it's a landlocked lake, which you would imagine that it would be, logistically, how would it possibly make it to the Atlantic Ocean? But again, for me, this is one of those movies that for whatever reason, the fact that it is so outlandish and ridiculous is kind of part of what makes it charming too. Look, is Jason Takes Manhattan one of the best Friday the 13th sequels? No. But let's be honest with ourselves. Is it the worst? Hell no. Guys, as always, I want to hear your thoughts, so please be sure to leave me a comment down below. New episodes of our shows premiere every single week at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at LTM Podcast KY. Don't forget to leave this video a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and we love you. Be good to each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace!